Hello everybody, and welcome back to Middle-earth. Also, Wappelville. Either way, we're going to do one last spooky painting here. And I think you could see, look at our references there. We got Sauron. I was going to probably save him for November, but I think we're just going to go this way. Let's see, this was last week's. This was the week before. Hey there, Armored Wolf. Boy, again, I apologize for the insane schedule this week. It's just going to be kind of like that, I think. Yeah, and I know that yours has just been all over the place too, and it's not going to get any more stable, is it? Here, this is the week before, so we focused on ring rates and the Witch King and such stuff. I thought, well, why don't we do the big bad guy, so-called bad guy? There's Sauron himself. Geez, we'll have to do a portrait of Sauron, I guess. So we're just going to talk about the palette real quick here. I do actually have some of the fluorescent red. Oh, that's what I forgot to do. I forgot to grab that terrain piece. Oh well, never mind. Actually, this has been interesting. I used this on that Dwarven Forge thing, and I realized that's why it had that deep reddishness to it, because we've been using the oranges. We haven't actually used the fluorescent red, really. So I thought that might be interesting. Again, sorry if the... here, let's maybe move that just a bit to get that more into the picture there. We got kind of the usuals here of white, brilliant yellow pale, the cadmium yellow deep, the terra rosa. We do have a little fanchon red over there. We've got a couple of these guys, the radiance, actually 3 of them here, of the turquoise blue and the violet. We also have Egyptian violet sitting over here. These are your usuals of indigo, black spinel, Van Dyke brown. Sandwiched in between are 2 fluorescents here, Indian yellow. Again, these are our homemade fluorescent paints that we made using the Green Stuff World, powdered pigments, and the linseed oil. I do actually have the brown matter, not asphaltum, just brown matter this time. Hey Grim, how you doing? Sorry that this started later. Nothing's really going according to the way I wanted it to this week, and today was another one of those days. Tomorrow will be as well, so sorry about the random start times. But I think I'm going to go with this picture over there. Part of it is because we talk about armor all the time. Actually, I might just leave this one out here. So you know how armor is impacted by object source lighting. And we do this at miniatures. I thought, I don't know, maybe if we did actually a 2D painting, people might be able to see that a little bit easier too. I'm going to actually turn down the brightness here a little bit while we're working on our drawing. And again, we've got our 9 quadrants here with these 4 areas where we want our interest to be. Now, all I'm going to do is go over here to a reference. Okay, let's see. Well, he's going to be sort of towards the center. I think we're going to move him maybe a little bit this way, right? And I think his head's going to have to be over here. Armor this way. Armor plate this way. And it's so funny when Kathy would see me doing this. She's like, it's just such a weird way for a lot of people to see the drawing stuff happen. So surety, it's a color that's been around for quite a while. It was one of my, brown matter alizarin was one of my favorite. There it is. So brown matter, it's just a series 1 color, very common, very cheap. The madder plant is something that's been used as a pigment for a long time. There's also purple matter as well. Again, as a watercolor, I always knew it as brown matter alizarin, but the oil color is just called brown matter. So we'll call it that here. Let's get his hand out on this, on his mace here. I've got to find wherever the heck the miniature went of this thing. I don't know. I've lost a ton of stuff. I'm gonna have to find some of these things. Okay, here's his nifty little mace right there. Hey Abadoo, how you doing? So Grim, I hope that your painting stuff has been going well. Have you had more opportunities to just test the capabilities of that camera? Well, the newer, not like a new as in physically new, but new as in new to the setup camera. All right, so some of his armor there. We got his arm down over here, cloak over there. Right down his chest there. Okay, that's how that armor piece is supposed to go. Okay. So that's going to go this way. Armor this way, and then these very distinct sections here. Let's make sure we have these in there. Let's see. Doing some recording tomorrow and Saturday. Yeah, Graham, once there's more folks in here, you can throw your YouTube channel on it. You know what I noticed is that I think maybe it happened because of when the power outage happened, that all of my my secondary setting, or what would you call it, my tag got blown away. So I think for weeks now I've been streaming with only one tag instead of miniature painting. It would answer a lot of questions. It would definitely make sense what the heck has been going on. So yeah, for whatever reason, boy, Twitch really knows how to mess with you sometimes, doesn't it? All right, so again, we're just trying to make his mace look as sharp as possible. We got to give him his almost Cylon-like eyes here. Let's make these a little taller, perhaps. Now, Grim, I hope that all goes well. Sometimes, well, you never know what to expect with new stuff, right? Gosh, I have so much to do as far as kind of reworking that setup down in the basement, trying some of the things that you and I have talked about with XSplit. And, oh, that's the other thing, too, that VMix. Gosh, I guess the short expression is, what is your opinion of VMix? Do you think that would be a decent potential recording software, or is it really no better than XSplit? And I guess the other thing is how much more of a pain is it to use than, say, XSplit? Because that's the thing I'm wondering. Because if it's better than XSplit and doesn't do some of the stupid things that XSplit does, even if it costs $50-$60 a year or whatever, it would still be better than XSplit. All right, now let's get him some fingers here. Very claw-like, of course. Looks like there is one finger hidden over there. So, again, center of interest. You see how we've kind of moved him from the center? So he is not right down the center. That was a really important thing there. So I might have to, geez, I might already have to grab myself a cough drop here. So I hope that everybody's doing okay. And again, my apologies. I really wanted this to start at around, gosh, I was hoping to start at around 6. It was pretty clear that wasn't going to happen. Because, yeah, Kathy was supposed to be doing her role-playing thing, and that didn't happen. And I knew that was going to set things back just a bit, and then things kind of cascaded downwards from there. So here, let's just, again, get these bits of his armor here, the spiky bits. I actually was even thinking of just painting a miniature tonight, but I realized this is basically the last chance I'm going to get to do a painting in October. I have no idea what's going on for tomorrow. May not be able to stream tomorrow, might be able to stream tomorrow. Everything is very much up in the air. I may not know until quite literally a few minutes before streaming tomorrow. So once again, I apologize in advance for that as we try and settle up his arm. Oh, that's actually something more like this. Let's move this piece down maybe a smidge here. And then you got his chest over here, and then a cloak back there. So this should be in front of that cloak. Let's just start to settle up a couple of these lines here. Just get rid of some of them. So we kind of do the sketchy thing, and then we start to eliminate some of the sketchy stuff. I mean, most of this is going to get covered anyway by my pre-glaze, as we call it, which works a little bit differently than maybe a miniature does because we're not wiping it away. But the idea is still very much the same. So what we gotta do here is get these spiky bits on his shoulder set up as best as we can. Yeah, the one thing I haven't been able to find is a decent STL file of Sauron. At least not anything that will be even close to a miniature version. And there's some really colossal statue-sized versions of them, but that's not what I'm looking for. Ah, that's how this thing is. Okay. That's how they did this thing. And this actually is a bit higher here. That makes a little more sense now. It makes a little bit more sense. We've got this going here. This actually moved. Oh, wow, that's in a very different spot than I thought it was. Oh, I see how. Okay. All right, these two are actually kind of connected here. That's interesting. All right, not quite the way I thought the armor went on this, but you learn something. Because, well, I think actually they don't even have the metal version of this. I think it's just the, oh gosh, the old resin version. I wonder if they'll do a new plastic kit. I bet you they do. I don't know what supplement that would be. You know, whatever new campaign book or army book they might do a new plastic of him. But I can't imagine them never doing a new plastic of Sauron. Of all the figures that would probably sell pretty well, I would think it would be Sauron. Now we might still move this over just a smidge here. We're going to give it a bit more of an angle, I think. So again, just making some changes here along the way. So again, I hope everybody is, well, having as much fun as they can. I know it's, well, for some folks it's probably Friday afternoon out there. Here it's not quite Friday morning yet. We have about 40-odd minutes or so to go before that happens. Again, I'm not even really going to get too involved with the drawing here because a lot of it is just going to get covered up anyways with a lot of our, well, for lack of a better term, pre-glaze. We'll round this out too. Second armor piece. Oh, okay, then there's this. All right, that's, I didn't see that before. We got too much of this on the other side. Yeah, we got to foreshorten that a little bit. There we go. Yeah, we have way too much of that on the other side. That's better. And then we got cloak. Big old cloak. Lots of flamey bits going on. I think I might just move this whole thing over this way a bit. Maybe even take away a little bit of the lines of that. So we're just going to move this over, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch-ish or so. Make his arm a bit long. Yeah, that arm was looking a little bit short. I'll go back to his hand here again. And this, okay, so the arm is lower. That's good. I'm just, again, double checking where some of this stuff should be here. All right. Boy, there's so much light reflected onto this thing. Oh, okay, I see how that works. So there's actually a mace point here. Interesting the way that's gonna, ooh, that's gonna be, this is another perspective challenge right here. Yeesh. All right, oh, okay, we'll figure it out. We'll get this thing figured out somehow. And then you got the flames here, his head. So those are a little too flat there. We gotta get these more of an angle. Like that's I think a bit better. And oh yeah, these, gosh, these definitely should be taller than the other ones. So you can see how we got these reflections on the armor again. That picture in the lower left-hand corner, that is our reference, sorry, that we're going to be using here. Hey, Dano, how you doing? Nice to see you. Actually, so Dano, have you been able to get any successful prints, hopefully today? I know that it wasn't being real, the printing wasn't going super smooth last time we talked. So hopefully the printing's been going a little bit better. Oh yeah, so that is just over. So again, that's where the eye slits are. Just going to take away some of the crown there. We'll get rid of some of these lines now. And then we're going to be, like I said, we're going to hit this with a fair dose of our fluorescent red. That's just, I forgot that we haven't really been using the fluorescent red very much. Yeah, actually, Dano, I was just talking about this, wondering if this might be another plastic kit that GW does, because the old metal one is kind of hideous. Never really has been very good. And it's a character figure, right? I can understand, well, I can't actually understand them not doing new infantry boxes, but I can. You know, if all they're going to do is just characters and stuff, well, why not Sauron, right? I mean, he is sort of the big bad guy. Why not eventually do something for Sauron? I was just conjecturing what supplement that could be. It's, I don't know. We've already got a bunch of Forge World stuff for War in the North, but I don't know, maybe there'll be a terrain piece for War in the... Who knows? It should be interesting. Okay, we're going to just take a quick little picture here of this thing. Hopefully we've got the actual... good, we have the SD card in there. Here, let's get our picture snapped of this, and let's just start slapping some stuff on there. And again, you can see how we did the armor here on this miniature. That's what we're looking to do on this thing too. So you kind of got some and some failed. Yeah, I know we were talking about trying to get your hands on the smoky black resin. Obviously there it could be somewhat limited access, right, because of whatever reasons. Here, let's get some of our thinner out here, and very much like a watercolor, right? Get some orange on this too. Yeah, like a watercolor. Pretty much this is how we did our Balrog. Remember our Balrog? This is what we did. We just sort of plopped in some of this. Now think of it with the fluorescent green, and that's what we did with our Minas Morgul, if you remember that. So again, we're just going to fire in. Speaking of fire, we're going to launch into some of this right here. That's our fluorescent yellow, a little bit of the orange in there too. Just because, why not? Let's get some of that down here. Some of that over here too. Out this way. Can't get the smoky, but I've ordered the one the guys last night recommended. Dan, I hope that works out good. There is nothing more frustrating than, you're waiting, and you go, oh, great. Yeah, that didn't work either. And then you just start wondering, is anything gonna work? It just really, really, really frustrating. Okay, here, let's get some of our darker stuff here around the perimeter. We're gonna take that. We're gonna take a smidge of our Fanchon red, and let's get into some of the brown matter here. And that's going to be our dark stuff around the, well, some of our dark stuff around the perimeter here. Just using one of those beat up craft brushes, right? I have to say though, that smoky black, that has been, talk about the old reliable. Oh my gosh, that has been just that's been a rock. That has been so solid. Now I just put a little bit of the Egyptian violet in here. Look at this. Look at that little bit of Egyptian violet in there. My goodness. And that just make quite the difference here. A little bit of Fanchon red, I suppose. Start letting this get a little bit darker too. And it's going to look like it's all dry, but rest assured, it is definitely not dry. It's the board is pretty absorbent. We'll give it that. Okay, here back to my fluorescent red 2. Yeah, and it's, well, the thing is here, and I mean, you're sort of experiencing weather things too, right, with your printing. Just a resin that you can rely on to print basically no matter what the heck the weather is. I don't know, that to me has, that's got some value to it, for sure. All right, I'm gonna go back to my thinner here. Get some more of our orange into this. Maybe a touch of that yellow. A little bit onto his helmet here. And you know what? I'll go snap a picture of that just because it looks kind of crazy. So let's do that. Could be fun. It's like a Bob Ross lava sky. Now let's start to do some darks in here. How's about a little bit of our Egyptian violet and some of our brown matter? That's gonna go here where the cloak is supposed to be. Maybe a little darker. Again, cloak here. So a little bit of that red work its way into the armor here. Alrighty, now we're gonna go to a filbert brush. This is one of those Velvet Touch filbert brushes. They've been pretty darn good, gotta say. Let's just get his hand over here with just something. None of this is going to be precise. Again, think of this almost like our pre-glaze that we would do for a miniature. Let's try and get some of his mace locked in here. Just to have a hint of it, that's all. Every so often, going to get a little bit thinner into this. Of course, unlike our miniatures, this is guaranteed to be a absorbent surface no matter what. So I don't know if folks saw the new series that we started. So again, that's a series 29. Wow. Can't believe that we're almost at Army Painting Series 30. Hey, Grumdy, thank you very much. We could certainly use some of this right now. Thank you very much, Grumdy. I appreciate that. Well, we could use about a gallon of that medicine right now, for sure. So Grumdy, this was really interesting. This was the archvillain stuff right here. I never painted any of their stuff before. This was really, really fun to paint, and I think you saw the new Army Painting series, right, with these guys right here. So yeah, that's going to be really interesting for sure. So Grumdy, I hope everything's going well. Oh no, Van Dyke Brown. Van Dyke Brown, maybe a touch of that brown matter, but here we got more of a Van Dyke Brown thing going on. Let's get some of our darks on the armor. That's really gotta be dark right there. That is quite dark indeed. And his hand out here. I think we got his thumb there. Yeah. And then the rest of his hand, just almost like some claws here. I'm not really going to do those. I'm not going to put those in very detailed at this point here. Catching the picture of the missing way too many streams. Keep seeing amazing stuff pops up on the Instagram. Oh, thanks. Boy, I really did enjoy that Dwarven Forge. I really want to get to some of the rest of the Moria terrain, because that was really, really, really fun. I enjoyed the heck out of that. So Grumdy, nice to see you again. I know what you mean, though. It's been weird here. lots of weird things going on, so I can definitely understand not being able to, catch the things that you would normally want to. That I can understand completely. I hope that's not too crazy anyways. All right, here we're just going to take that and a little bit of the black spinel here.
So say we all.
Thank you so much, Bitron. Thank you so much. Yeah, Bitron, now did this work out good for you? Because this was actually supposed to start, I don't know, about 5 hours ago. So hopefully this delay actually was good for you. Yeah, because I know that your schedule has not been at all what you wanted it to be. So I don't know, maybe this proved to be sort of semi-beneficial for you, the fact that we weren't able to start this when we wanted. New gym schedule that interferes a lot with the normal stream times. Well, Grumdy, I think you might have a chance over the next, especially November, because something tells me that the stream schedules are just going to be very randomized. I mean, I might be streaming on different days. Like I was streaming Wednesday, right? I won't be able to stream Saturday for sure. May not be able to stream tomorrow unless maybe it's later. So yeah, Grumdy, there might, with all the weirdness going on, you might actually be able to get a chance to catch a stream. Because everything's going to be so randomized, you might just be able to catch one. So hopefully that sort of works out in your flavor, as they might say. All right, we're just trying to get a little bit of a dark here for his helmet. Not too dark. Not too dark. We're going to come back into this with lighter colors anyways, but for right now, all I'm trying to do, it's like we're sketching here, right? It's one of those weird days off for you, Bitron. Let's see, what were some of the, Grumdy. Oh my gosh, that newest episode, yeah, you'll hear some thoughts about, the various resins and the different printers and stuff, and again, just the hard lessons that you're inevitably going to learn. So actually, speaking of, printing and resin stuff, hopefully your printing experiences have all gone reasonably well. All right, yeah, I think we need to just tie that up. So I think now you're starting to see this, it starts to form just a bit. Yeah, that should probably go all the way through. Let's maybe sharpen these up a bit. So I really do enjoy, again, the filbert brushes. They provide a lot of options. Now, let's see. So you have a day off between work days. Here, let's tighten that up. We've got a piece of armor that's supposed to be down there. And we've got the armor over here that never really got... Right, so we're just trying to make a nice sharp edge out of that. So I think, yeah, we were able to get some nice differential there. Think of it, the last couple of landscapes we did, especially I think it was probably the ring wraith one, if we can grab that one. So remember this, it was all very, almost like a watercolor at the start. This one was too, pretty much, but with the fluorescent green, we're kind of doing the same thing there with the orange. And this one too. These were just basically a watercolory type glaze, sort of like what we were doing over there. So work is getting a little bit slower now. Well, hopefully not too slow, I guess is the way the phrase might be. All right, where the heck is my other? There it is, my smaller filbert brush. Just trying to grab this guy right here. Okay, let's get into... I know I'll use maybe some... well, let's start out with some of the brilliant yellow pale here first. Again, the reason I wanted to do this was to try and show armor and reflected light and everything else that normally doesn't necessarily show up quite so much on a miniature. I thought it might show up a little bit more here on a painting. Actually, that probably needs to go a little higher here, I think. Oh yeah, that probably goes all the way up to here. Another armor plate down there. And letting this mix with what's already here. Not everything has to have just the fire reflected on it. In fact, here we're actually take a little bit of that, the blue there, that's the radiant blue. Okay, not everything has to be yellow and fiery, especially if it's not really necessarily pointing towards the fire itself. Okay, we've got this piece here. We go. I think we went too high on this bit here, so I'm just going to change that real quick. Make a little bit of a change right there. Okay, his hands, something there on that mace. Oh, I'm just gonna splash in a couple of lights right there. I'm sure this looks like just an absolute gloriously hideous mess right now, but that's kind of how this stuff works. All right, that should almost be right here where his head is. We're going to have to sneak some yellow into this, it looks like. Yeah, I think we'll have to sneak a little bit, and by a little bit, no. Indian yellow. Yeah, let's grab a smidge of that here. There we are. And down here too. So again, not everything has to be orange. And see how that blue is already starting to contrast? Look at that. It's like barely ghosted in. Barely even ghosted in there. But I do wish I could have started this earlier, though. That was definitely the plan. Start this a whole lot earlier. Like I said, about 5 hours ago. Yeah, this thing should have... We should have been already done with this stream for a few hours. If it had gone anywhere near according to the plans that we were trying to make. Alright, so starting to get the armor plates in here. Might throw a little bit of thinner on this. Not going to... No, I'm not going to... I was just about to throw a little bit of the yellow over there. Not going to do that just now. Nope. Think of this like doing just a little bit of drawing here. And thank you so much for that sub. Is that Al? That is Al. Al, how you doing? Thank you for a little dose of medicine. We could certainly use some of this right now. Yeah, Al, we've been doing some spooky things, right? Here was, I believe this was last week's. Yeah, it was last week's. And then, of course, where's our one the week before? Where's our Minas Morgul here? Let's just get to that. I'm just going to get these things out here. Boom, there's Minas Morgul. Now, Al, I don't know if you saw the bust that we were doing. Gosh, was this last night? Well, Wednesday night anyway. So yeah, that was the bust we were doing last night. That was kind of creepy. That was from Archvillain. It's weird that I've never actually painted any of their stuff. And then, oh, here's... this is our first one of October. Don't say I ever paint hobbits. Don't ever say that I don't paint hobbits for yous. Yeah, so Al, the new army painting series is all about Archvillain miniatures, and I think I printed 2 different ones of these. I've got one of the werebats printed. I've got to print some more of those. I don't have the printer going right now. Well, there's actually a print hanging off of the plate that I never even had a chance to take off today. That's how crazy today has been. And I just wasn't quite sure. It almost looked like the weather pattern was going to be like a couple of days ago. And that was where I had turned off the printer, fortunately. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, this doesn't sound great, so I'm going to just leave the printer off here. So Al, I hope that things have been going okay. I know that everybody's schedule has been really, really nuts lately. And hopefully yours hasn't been too crazy. So Dano, is that the guy with the big robe? think I might have him here. Is that this guy? Where the heck is he? So I think that's the one maybe you're talking about. They have like a whole second set of infantry for that I didn't even realize that they had. Oh, actually, Dano, check this out. Remember we were talking about those dire bats with RM printable? Or sorry, his bat swarm? Check this out. And there's 5 of these. 5 different ones. And yes, that's a 40mm base. So this is what I might be painting these tomorrow night, or at least one of these or something. I don't know. So yeah, don't be surprised if you see me painting one of these tomorrow night, because that could be very interesting. And they all come on their own little bases. Here's another one that I managed to print out there. So see this weird cracking here? That's just a bizarre thing that only happens with the smoky black. And it seems like no matter what I try to do, it's on those really thin, flat areas like that. It just has a tendency to crack that way. I don't know why it does that. It just does it. All right, let me see if I can start to drop in some darker stuff here. Some Van Dyke Brown maybe. We need to start getting our armor plates drawn in. As if we can. That actually should be almost more of a red right there. So those, I guess those are all separate armor plates right there. That's also darker, also darker. Let's throw a little bit of our brown matter into this, so a reddish dark color here. Pop some of this into here, into the side over there. Hey, Aussie, how you doing? I think we're, yeah, that is the irritating thing about the smoky black. And if anybody that saw the army painting episode, or I just kind of say, well, you know, these resins, every single one of them is going to irritate the heck out of you in some way. It's going to do something that just drives you nuts. And I think that's just how it is with resin. There is no perfect resin. There's just resin that in ideal circumstance will do what you hope it does. But of course, you know, those are just the bats. I only need those for Lord of the Rings. I don't care otherwise. And once you paint the stuff, you don't really see that anyways. So, all right, Grim. Sorry this started so late. I apologize. Again, it was supposed to be a lot earlier. I promise. It really was. And again, I don't know what's going on tomorrow. I can't promise anything for tomorrow. So hopefully maybe we'll get to stream and we can see you. And you have some good luck with the new camera setup too. Here, let's darken this down some more like we were talking about. Let's make sure that we get enough of our red into some of this. Yeah, we want it darker. We don't want to lose sight of that red. Let's see, finished the bust yesterday, which turned out really well. Started a couple of the trolls for, that's good. Oh, Dano, did you see the preview pics from Diwali there? Now, of course, there's the 3 merchant guard, but let's see, what was that? Which king would you say that was right there? Oh, it looked like Thryden Wolfsbane. I don't know, is that what you thought it was there, Dano? I'm thinking that's what it was supposed to be, is Thryden Wolfsbane, which is good because, you know, I don't have one of him, and we certainly want to use the Dunlending Legendary Legion at some point. Okay, so again, trying to give him his claw-ish type hands there. Here, let's try and do some of the armor for his head here. And some of this does have to be darker, otherwise these things not going to show up, right? You must have dark to have light. Certainly applies to 2D as it does to miniatures. Let's see. How does this smell? That smoky black. Actually, Dano, I've never really noticed that having any kind of smell at all. I mean, I don't know if I've really had any smell from resin. To me, it seems like it's the cleaner. You know, it's the alcohol stuff, the 90% or whatever that I'm convinced that's what I'm actually smelling, and not so much the resin. Now maybe people just have more sensitive noses than I do. I mean, that's certainly, I know Kathy does, for sure she does, but I've never really noticed anything actually. So yeah, the Lilith bust here, it's still weird that this is the first archvillain thing that I painted of all the archvillain figures that I've printed, which is a fair amount. Actually, that is the first one I actually had a chance to paint, which I think is absolutely hilarious. Again, just trying to drop in some darks here. What are we, 41 minutes into this, I think? Yeah, something like 41 minutes in here. Oh yeah, that should probably be darker as well. Where's my, there it is, some of our Van Dyke brown again to try and work in some dark there for that armor. Some brown matter, little bit of the Egyptian violet here, and again, just try and darken this down a little bit here while we're at it. Now this has a decent amount of thinner on it. Why? Because actually the more thinner there is on it, it's going to soak more into this hot press illustration board. Should maybe darken this a little bit here. Make that more of a point, probably. Let's see, the Anycubic resin I first purchased smelled terribly. I thought I would have to sell the printer because I couldn't live with it in the house. But the Sauron doesn't. So okay, well, let's see. That's actually that's really that's great information there, Grundy, because that's something that I can tell people. Is just, you know, if the smell kind of gets to you, try the Soraya, because the Soraya don't stink. That should be, see, that should be their marketing campaign right there. Soraya, it don't stink. That's it. That should be their brand new advertising campaign. There we go. Now I have that Lilith figure that boy, that was what, 4 different build plates or something like that. That is something I would have loved to have printed out, but until I can ensure in November that I can just get a couple of containers of my Soraya Smoky Black, because I'm just gonna, shall we say, stock up for the winter, because with supply chain issues being as they are, something tells me that that could get a little bit dicey moving forward. So I'm going to try and snag me at least maybe 2 containers of the Soraya Smoky Black. Now, apparently, and this has been something that other people have mentioned to me, if the grow tents, not only do they help for temperature regulation, but they also, they apparently also kind of hold in the smell a little bit. So if the smell is kind of an issue, that might be one workaround there, is the grow tent. And it also helps with the temperature stuff too. At least that's what I've been hearing. All right, I'm gonna maybe move that down a little more. Again, that's supposed to be a little bit darker right there. So yeah, Bitsron, I'm just imagining if you had a printer, you would have dozens of BattleTech and terrain. You'd have all that stuff printed out. I could just imagine you printing that out like crazy. Actually, yeah, Bitsron, you want to throw some links to your BattleTech stuff there, so that people can see what you've been doing with that. All right, where the heck is my, here we go. And now we're going to try and start moving some of this paint around here. Start to get somewhat more detail. We're going to have to put in some of our lights behind him here too. Then just taking this brush here, sort of blending together some of these things now that we've got some of the darks in place. Believe it or not, there's actually a little bit of light that happens along that edge there. Back to some of that radiant violet. Some of that's going to go over here on some of these armor pieces. Something like that. That's all dark around. Okay, well, good to know. So Dan, I hope that I know I saw you mention something about some RPG stuff there. I guess you're fixing to have some fun with the RPG stuff this weekend. That sounds good. All right, just grab something like this here. We're gonna take that brilliant yellow pale and let's see if we can really blast in some of our lightest light here. Like so. Let's see. Oh, okay. Yep, Daniel, we're just getting started here. Can pop in a little bit more of the flame there. Hopefully I don't need... no, I'm just going to grab some of the Indian yellow here and let's get some light over here. Maybe not so much down there, but that too is going to need some light in it. Where's his eyes here? Let's get some now, some of this brighter orange-ish yellow on some of the armor here as well. Out there. I think we're all caught up. So again, if I'm missing any questions or whatever, I apologize. Again, when I got the references up, I really can't see anything else. So I apologize for that. I'm going to cut down on a little bit of the armor over here. Now, let's see, I don't know, do I want to use this much orange? Nah, maybe not. This also could probably use a little bit of our orange on it here. Essentially the claw-like armor here. Gonna try and get some of my lighter blues on that. There we go. Do some of this over here. We need to tighten this all up. That actually has some reddish glow to it. So let me see what happens with this here. Looks like we got now a smidge of reddish glow on that side. Let's see what I can do here on the mace. I might have to throw some more of my fluorescent yellow out there. Depends. Right now we've got the fluorescent yellow mixed with some of our brilliant yellow pale here. Because that needs to be very fiery right there. And we've got some of our bright armor highlights there. A little bit less on that. What's happening up here? That should also be lighter too. This is a little bit of thinner in it. I cannot deny that. I want it to be able to spread and move around easily. Okay, I think we need some over here on those armor bits as well. Well, looks like there's some like runes and scroll work that seems like also too on the armor. Well, that makes sense. Maybe back down to some more of the orange here, a little bit less of the yellow when we get down here. Let's see. I think so while things were getting sprayed, speaking of pests, there was a little bit of 40k chat there. Now, actually, Dano, have they released, like, do people actually have the new supplement and everything? Now, I don't know. I'm telling you, there's some YouTube channels that don't have that many subscribers that basically have a copy of the book already, and I'm just kind of wondering how the heck they got their hands on it, because, you know, it would be nice. Boy, sorry to hear about that, Dano. Now, did he just fall off of these supports? I guess, or did he have those, I always call them shelf errors, right? Where it's like literally there's a shelf and it just stopped printing in that one area. Man, I really hate that. I absolutely hate that. And it just happens all too often. And it's weird, Dano, because that was actually the only stuff that was printing, well, not necessarily perfectly, but it was printing at least with that frozen resin that I'm just going to have to kind of give up on using, sadly. It's not reliable enough. Just, yeah, sadly not reliable at all. I want to see if I can not just darken that down, but also give it a little bit of a reddish look to it. So yeah, I think we're starting to get some opposing colors in our armor here. So Dano, I wish Grim were still in here, but Grim said something. He had me change it to 3 seconds or something like that. So yeah, I think we changed that. What was that? The exposure time to 3 seconds or whatever, and that seemed to sort of help, kind of. It was definitely no ensure of success. Now, of course, the smoky black, like I said, that has been printing just fine, but actually, yeah, I haven't done any Crippled God Foundry stuff yet. I know people, they sent me the links to it and such. I've seen it. I have not gotten any of their files or printed any of their stuff. Okay, let's continue again to add some more of our darks into here. Maybe we'll even darken down some parts of the mace here. Again, the darker that is, the lighter the fire is going to appear to be. At least that's the theory behind it anyways. So yeah, the Grim had me change that. He had me at 2.8 initially, and then once the failures started to happen, that was increased to 3 seconds. He's basically said don't go any higher than that no matter what, so that's again another reason why I'm just gonna quit using the other resin, sadly. because I just don't think there's anything I can do about it. So yeah, Bitsrun, I don't know, are we, is all this talk about nothing but failures on prints? I'm sure that's not exactly convincing you to want to get a printer for yourself. I mean, it's just kind of one of those things, and every company's files are different too. So you never quite know what you get from one company to the next. Dano, I have to say, Dano, geez, you know what I printed out? And of course, I was wanting to really look at this before doing the stream here. Was I printed out the, well, for the new Patreon, I can never remember what it's called, Kurzlug or something like that. I printed out the pig. So yeah, I printed out the pig. I printed out some of the goats just to see what they're like. Now, I reduced them by 7%. So we'll see if that was the way to go. Hopefully it was. Actually, Aussie, what's the validation matrix? I don't know what that is. You'll have to fill me in. Yeah, well, let's make this a smidge darker. It might even get a little bit of the brown matter on there too. And just like we did on some of our miniatures, of course, we're just going to start to manage some of our brush strokes here. We're going to start to blend some things. Not all of this stuff needs to have a sharp edge on it. So darken some of this down too. Let's see, if you print this about AMACO, you're, oh, okay. Well, it's just, well, I found out, and again, this is things that you find out usually after you really needed to know about them, that that frozen resin, it just, it needs to be at a certain temperature, which the basement, I mean, I can, with some space heaters, maybe keep it at that temperature, but there's just too much, too many ifs, ands, or buts about it, and I need something that is far more reliable. So that's where we're just going to go with the smoky black, because even though it is not perfection, it just gives me a much better chance of getting successful prints. And it's way less dependent on things like settings and temperature and all that sort of stuff. And what is that, the FEP too? So, because apparently that's a thing with the Sonic Mini 4K, is that the FEP is also too sticky, for lack of a better term. Dano, that was bizarre. I printed out that all three, or no, was it three of them or two of them? Because there's the one with the rock, and then there's the one with just the hands. It was bizarre that the troll was about 3 times the size of that. So like the tree man was the size the troll should have been, and the troll was the size the tree man should have been. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really planning on using that particular, was that the troll brute, right? I'm not planning on using that a whole bunch. So I might try the tree man again at a larger size. At least they printed. I mean, that was good. At least getting them to print. Okay, now we've got this darker red. Again, it's got a little bit of the fluorescent with it. Yeah, so Aussie, yeah, the Grim had suggested the 2.8, because, I mean, he has all the same stuff. But then that's when you find out about the temperature. That's when you find out about the FEP plate is kind of wonky sometimes. And it's like, okay. Now, I need something that I can count on a little bit more. All right, here, let's start to get some of our darks around the outside here. That's going to be maybe some of, again, the Egyptian violet here, some of the brown matter. Let's darken this down too. And actually we need to actually go darker over here because then these things will stand out a bit more. Like we were just saying, you must gotta have yourself some dark if you want to have yourself some light. Speaking of dark, let's really try to make this area darker up here. Some of that darker red even. There's some more Mafanchen red. Doing a little bit of the, doing a little case of the swirls right there. Let me see. Oh, and thanks Armored Wolf for posting the, again, that's a link to the latest, or to the Patreon page, and we just started our newest army painting series. Just earlier today, right? Yeah, just earlier today I put up the newest army painting episode. I guess we'll have to throw a bunch of stuff out. We might really have to come back out with some more of our fluorescent colors, I suppose. Yeah, Dan, let's see, sorry. Aussie, I'll still never forget, it was the sculptor from The Printing Goes Ever On, and he was shocked and horrified that I had printed his goblins at 80% size or something like that. He said, "Oh my gosh, the supports didn't fail." And I said, "Why would they?" Because I had no idea. I had no idea at the time that that's something that could happen if you screw around with the supports. So yeah, I had no idea that messing with supports could be a no bueno kind of thing. So yeah, now we're gonna start to maybe, at this point, get into some tightening of edges here, especially with the armor. Because I mean, we're trying to do our little bit of color contrast here, right? We've got the, even here, some of the lighter colors have that little hint of a bluishness to them. I mean, it's not extreme, but there's a little. We also need to, let's just separate some armor plates here. What's happening with this? Not really much separation here. Not very tight on some of these edges, and we'll do that now. Like, I'm even seeing some green here in the metals. That is the really amazing thing about when you're actually really trying to paint the metals and stuff. There is very little gray actually when it comes to metal colors. It's the environment around it. I know we talk about that a lot, but it's really important. It's always a bit oh, okay, yeah, there we go. So I've got my finer brush here. I could start to maybe again pick out some darks here. There's the way they've got his helmet here. There's a lot of extra stuff going on in the helmet. I don't know if you want that much extra stuff. I am trying to get as much dark as I can in that helmet, though, so that his eyes will, well, the glowing of his eyes will stand out a little bit more anyway. And I might take a picture of this in just a second here, because we've made some big changes here. Especially, well, look at that's more of like almost like a gauntlet right here. So we need to match it up to what we have going on over here. And then we have another armor piece that comes down this way here. Kind of our Van Dyke Brown is mixing a bit with the black spinel, it looks like. And then you've got some of this stuff going in kind of the opposite direction. We'll have to divvy up the armor here on his fingers. One section. Again, a lot like claws here. Looks like each of those, one on each knuckle. I'm gonna come back over here to some of the, that's the radiant, well, radiant blue with a little bit of our Van Dyke brown as well. Nah, this has got too much of that. Let's try this. It's almost more of a violet color now. Let's see if I can get maybe some red there for some lighting underneath that. And back to some of our darks again. That's the black spinel. It's got some of the little hint of our red in it too. So again, these we're gonna have to also put some light here in the de facto claws. We also might have to darken up things in a couple of spots as well. Trying to give that a little bit of perspective, make it look a little bit rounder. Looks like we could still stand to have a couple of darks over there on the armor on that side. What do I want to do with all of those? There's these runes that are kind of carved into here. We'll have to give a suggestion to those. I think it'll make things a bit more interesting too, if we have that. So I'm just dropping in again. Some of these darks will come back in. And we'll just spread those around with a blending brush. Nothing that we have to do right now. I sort of like the idea of the cloak maybe being a little bit faded here. So maybe we won't darken that down too much. So again, our filbert brush right here, it's got all kinds of paint sitting in there for sure. All right, now this we've got to, I think I need to push my dark right up to the edge of that, and then we'll let the red-ish color here, again, Fanchon red, has a little bit of our fluorescent red in that too. I let a little bit of my red sneak into this side. Maybe a bit under there too. And I don't want to also, again, lose sight of some of the red here that might need to be on his hand. Over the mace there. Gosh, it's got how many of these crazy spikes on his crown? Yeah, that's something I'm hoping. Well, I don't know. I guess the plastic went. All of the individual spikes on his crown, they'll probably be separate pieces, but at least At least they'll be plastic and maybe not metal, because that was not very fun. I think I've had to assemble at least 2 of the old metal Sauron figures. I know I've got one more. It's around the house somewhere. Couldn't tell you where the heck it is right now. Because I would like to make a diorama out of it and then also have it still be playable. So he could be removed from his diorama base. Let's see, printed out one of those vamps with the massive blood cape thing. Oh, see, that's Dano. I forgot to do those. Well, actually, I don't know. I couldn't find them. I thought for sure that I had uploaded all of those, but yeah, I don't know how those didn't get printed. I really wanted to do some of those so that I could do blood effects in the army painting series, but yeah, I never saw the files. Just like we were talking about yesterday, right? I hate the way they name some of this stuff because I can't figure out what the heck some of it is. But I would love to try and print out some of those and maybe extend the cloaks or whatever with my Liquitex heavy gel or whatever. Actually, Dano, did you print off? Well, that's an important line that we need to get here. Like the bases, right? There's some of them where the bases are very much incorporated, and then there's other ones where they're like the Dread Hussars. Yeah, the bases weren't so hot on those, to say the least. Yeah, I'm going to tone that down just a smidge here. So now, again, that bluer light there. We're also going to get more of our light colors into that. No doubt. So Bithron, I've tried doing that, and unfortunately, there's just so many different companies out there, and you never know, because they'll give it weird names, and they're not always in folders, so you'd have to put them in folders yourself. Well, I guess I really want to do something like that. I would really love to be able to do that, but that is a project that would take days, unfortunately. I would love to be able to do that because, but then of course, what's funny, Bitron, is that I could also then end up forgetting what they were, right? I could just give them a name and then go, all right, what was this name? Because I could see myself doing that, forgetting what I named it because, me being stupid, right? I could see myself doing that. But yeah, I would really love to be able to just kind of rename them all, like you're saying there. But they're not always in full. That's the crazy thing, is sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. And also, too, every single one, they load in a different way. Right? The Diwali stuff, you get that completely differently from the way you get Printing Goes Ever On, which is completely differently from the way you get it from Archvillain. And I mean, it's what you deal with, right? It's under the Blood Cloak folder. The base on the Blood Cloaks are terrible. Yeah, it's weird, right, Dano? On the large monsters, the bases were fantastic. And then on these, the bases were okay, but the Dread Hussars were hideously small, which is why we just redid those. Well, let's, gosh, should that be lighter, darker? What the heck? We'll go with darker here. No, we're gonna change it back again. I think we'll do lighter there. Let me see. So, oh yeah, Aussie, it really is amazing with how the darks on the palette, they just look like a big old blob together. Then you get them on the miniature, you get them on the the painting itself, and it just transforms, doesn't it? Yeah, Dan, I have no idea why they made the darn bases so stinking small. It makes no sense whatsoever. It really doesn't. All right, here, I'm gonna just throw some more of this in there. Now, Bithron, with some of the FDM stuff that you've done, I mean, is it pretty much the same case, or to the build? Is it a little bit easier to tell with some of the buildings? Oh, thanks, Grumdy. We could certainly use a little bit of this. Thank you very much. Ah, thank you. That is appreciated. And of course, actually, all of the archvillain figures, they seem to be just on a smaller scale, don't they, Dano? All right, now we can pop in here with not just some lighter stuff, but also something that starts to make more sense with the shape of the armor here. Hey, Landrist, how you doing? Sorry this didn't start when I wanted it to. Yeah, today got blown up early. Actually, it got blown up before I even woke up. And it just kind of slid backwards from there. So, yeah, sorry that this is so much later. Yeah, so, of course, it was, you look at the large, the monsters, right? Well, it's kind of hard to tell from just those. But yeah, their infantry, it's weird because Titan Forge is just the opposite. Oh, actually, Dano, I was looking at one of the older Titan Forge. Well, it's not that old, actually. Oh, never mind. That's this whole thing, okay? And now, of course, their infantry, I almost had to reduce it 20% in size to make it more Lord of the Rings size. But they actually have some stag riding elves that could work for a Thranduil. So I was just trying to place those out and resize those things, figuring out which stag and which of those elf riders would work best for a Thranduil. Actually, Bithron, you are the master of all things rules. Uh, does Thranduil have just like a sword, or does he have kind of like one of those hand and a half swords or something? Because I just want to make sure that I put the right weapon in his hand. And my guess is that it is a hand and a half sword of something or that variety, I guess. Here, let's hit this with some of our lighter yellows. The mace, I guess that also is going to get a little bit of a light from the side here. See if we can do this. Yeah, Bithron, I think it's probably just like a hand and a half sword or something like that. I don't think he has any options. I don't think he gets a shield either. Yeah, I don't see how he gets a shield. Now that is more of a, definitely looks like more of a yellow there. We'll just take our blending brush and work some of that in. Back to some of our darker red here. And I think we just needed to divide up his helmet right here. We'll come back, maybe add some more light in there, but I think that starts to make a little more sense. Now let's have that be less of a, that's too straight there. It's very much like a Cylon there. We don't want it to be too much like a Cylon. All right, we will do some film noir in just a second. So an elven-made sword. All right, well that's good because that's pretty much what those things come with. So yeah, you can still see, well, you can see the edge contrast here. You can see that here we're going to have to really soften that out, right, to make these edges stand out more. But we're letting that paint just kind of set here before we go back into it. I'm going to have to also come back in, I think, with, oh, I'm just like, I didn't bring my intensity all the way back. There we go. It's like, why is that looking a little peaked there? So you give him a second sword or an elf bow. Well, I don't think we'll be giving him a bow, and at least not on the stag anyways. Because that's the one that I'm hoping to be able to use, one of the Titan Forge miniatures. But those are really those are big. And now I'm kind of glad, as much as I really like the Titan Forge stuff for, might be using it for Farharad or whatever, I think that it'll just be easier to use that, oh, whatever the heck that thing is called. I can never remember what that particular one is called. That's gonna haunt me. I just cannot remember what that particular Patreon is called. Well, it's only been a few weeks since I found it. Let's see. So you can use 2 elven swords if you want to for 30 points. Now, I'm guessing the hand and a half sword, whatever, that's the one that gives him that extra strength when he's on the elk or the stag or whatever. I'm sure I could be completely and totally wrong about that. But I think, yeah, him, it's the hand and a half sword that'll give him the extra strength, or like what, strength 6 or something, potentially, on the stag. On the charge, anyway. I think he's got to be on the charge to make that happen. So here we never really did do our lighter edge on that armor. We're going to try and lighten this up a 2 again, but we're just letting some of that stuff mix. We have to make sure we get some of the blue in there anyways. All right, so Kerr's look. All right, yeah, that's I'll try and remember that, Dano. I apologize. My name recognition stuff is really terrible. That pretty much runs in the family because I was the youngest of 7, and basically various names would be cycled through before they got to mine. Usually the dog's name was mentioned before my name was. So yeah, if someone wanted to call me and I would hear Frank, Elaine, Rusty. Yeah, that was the dog, and that name was said before my name was. So I guess we are just kind of born with no actual short-term memory of any kind. I think that's just how we are placed on the earth, unfortunately. So Bithron, it's just like an elven, blade. It's a little bit bigger sword. It's not quite the tiny little sword that you see sometimes. But maybe people are giving him 2 swords. So Bithron, is there anything that mentions that extra strength here? We're going to try and do maybe some sort of scrollwork stuff here now that we're talking about this. Oh, thanks, Grumdy. Well, you have a good night. Again, sorry this started later, but I won't be streaming Saturday for sure. I'm hoping to stream Sunday. Instead, I don't. Right now, it's doubtful that I'm going to be able to stream tomorrow night. I might be able to. Basically, I'll know when I know. Not sure when that's going to be. But thanks as always, Grumdy, for the bits. Those are appreciated. Oh, here, let's go this way. Yeah, it's not even like I'm going to be using that particular faction or army very much either. Actually, now, Bithron, have you had a chance to, or Dano, have you really had a chance to see much of the new source book there? Campaign book, whatever you want to call it. So I think you can see we're just trying to get some of this scroll work in here. You have a good one there, Grumdy. Again, thanks so much. I appreciate that. Now, the nice thing is if we can get some of this, again, the scroll work in the armor here, it's something that we can throw a few extra little highlights on, you know, where the light is sort of glinting off of it just a bit here and there. So when he's equipped with the second sword, he gets 3 attacks and fight 7. Bithron, I think you've discovered that's probably the profile that, or the, what would you call it, the war gear, the outfitting that most people are doing with him. Of course, those bats that I was showing earlier. I really love the idea that a stupid bat swarm gets into the combat there and has the fight skill. All of a sudden, Thranduil is now fight skill 3 because you're rounding down. I think that would be absolutely hilarious. Hey, Rise of Mages, how you doing? So yeah, Rise of Mages, I mean, we've done the Witch King and everybody else. Why not the big guy? Why not the big guy himself? And now I'm going to change this around a little bit too, I think. Yeah, something more like that. So, yeah, Rise of Mages, well, we're starting this way later than there was the original intent. This was supposed to, we really wanted to be starting more like at 6:30, not 11. It's just going to be one of those kind of weeks. So that didn't work out really the way I wanted it to right there. I don't know, we'll figure out something here. I don't know, maybe we'll just do something like that. I think it's time to maybe simplify a little bit here. Maybe there's too much complexity, and maybe we just need to simplify a bit. And I also need to I need to take a picture of this guy here. I also maybe need to throw some more of my fluorescent red out there. We'll see. Here, let's snap a quick little picture of that. Boy, this other one was so dark here. The camera was actually having a tough time focusing on this because it didn't quite have the super bright lights of this one here. All right, I'm going to continue to add some of these darks here. Again, here on these claws, we got to get some of our lighter colors in there. Where's my, here it is. This, we're just gonna kill that really sharp line there. Again, that looks like it was dry, but it definitely not dry, because otherwise, how am I able to manipulate it so easily like this? So back over here to some of this crazy blue-ish. Now, maybe more of the lighter side here. There we go. So something more like that. But it's interesting. It was okay with the. It was okay with this one, and this did not have quite the contrast either. And it was also it's even okay with this one, which also didn't have quite so much contrast. It's interesting. That was the first time that it ever happened on any of the any of the 2D pictures. And there was some where I expected that to happen. It's interesting how that kind of works sometimes. It was just sort of a weird, odd circumstance. All right, here, let's, we need to get the same bits of the lighter color there on the edge of his, well, claws. I mean, not claws, but claws. And here we also need to get some semblance of his thumb in there. Start working in some of our lights this way again. Rise of Mages, we won't be using the phone for that. I am looking forward to, was it the S21 Ultra? That's what it was, right? Yeah, that phone, it doesn't really, even Kathy has, I think she's got the S, whatever it is, it just doesn't really work very well for miniatures. Believe it or not, this ancient piece of junk is better than any of the new cameras. At least when it comes to taking pictures of miniatures. No one is more surprised than me by that. Because people, they've tried to get us other cameras, and, you know, we thought, okay, we'll use these really fancy phone cameras. They'll be better. And they're not. Kathy's still been very disappointed with the brand new phone and how it takes pictures of her miniatures. Which is why we keep that ancient piece of junk around. I mean, it is literally a piece of junk. That is, that camera is laughable. I think it's like 1/4 of a megapixel. That is hilarious. Now, of course, too, Rise of Mages, when you're taking pictures of his, I have to take hundreds of pictures and process those every single day. So there's no time for doing the fancy stuff. It has to be down and dirty. I've got quite literally seconds to spend on every image because there's that many of them that have to be done. If I was only taking pictures of the occasional miniature here and there, it might be different. But yeah, this is industrial scale for sure. All right, let's. I don't know. I'm gonna go back to some of my lighter yellow here, maybe. Try and figure out what is all going on with some of this stuff here. So yeah, the last time we had things not on auto setting was pretty much never. Because there is no time to fool around with that. Oh yeah, we have the light box here and all that kind of stuff. Again, it's just the volume of stuff that we do. And I'm not just taking, sometimes it's a group of figures, sometimes it's a single figure, sometimes it's a bust. So again, we don't have the time for, it would be nice, but we don't have the time for lots of different settings. Although I am looking forward to that as a video camera like we were talking about, right, Rise of Mages? I think that's going to be very fun. So what I'm going to do here is, well, at least get some more of my Fanchon Red out, if I can here, because we're pretty much all out of that. And I don't know if I'll be able to get some more of my Fluorescent Red out of here, but I'm going to try anyways. Here, let's see if I have any paper towels. All right, here, let's just steal some more of this out of here. Okay, there's some. Where's it going to go? We're just going to plop it over here. Let's get some thinner on that. Okay, that's going to be irritating. Just get that closed up. Get some thinner on this. Also, not dropping the container into all the paint. That's less good. So some of that fanchon red. I don't want too much of it in there because that's going to make that pretty dark. All right, let's work a little bit of this into the, well, not shadow areas. Yeah, let's go this way with it. Again, a little bit of our darks there. So yeah, what we were really interested in the phone is for the video stuff. That's what I'm hoping to be able to use it for. That is the big hope, is using the phone for the videos. Well, for streaming on it too, because I think Rise of Mages, you heard us talking about streaming on the phone there. Because I know that Jinx has been doing that for at least 3 weeks now with a lot of success. So yeah, the phone for our battle reports, who knows, maybe that will be the key to getting the battle reports underway. See there, I'm actually just kind of took some of the paint away. Rise of Mages, you can put links in the chat there. I'm not going to be able to see them or click on them. Now, if you want me to see those, you could always just shoot me those on Instagram or something like that. Because yeah, if you put them in the chat, I'm not going to see them. See, put a little bit of that orange in there. That was helpful. And that's another. I'm going to try and get some of this out here too. I mean, it could be helpful for the other folks in the chat to see it. But yeah, me, not so much. There's my light. Just got to get some of this out here. There we go. We're just going to put a big old batch of that out there. And I'm also going to have to see if I can find a paper towel here somewhere in this room. And try and get some of that extra junk off of me. I knew I was going to be using quite a bit of the fluorescent stuff. I didn't know I was going to be using quite this much. What was it? Oh yeah, what's the other one? Oh, it was the Dwarven Forge. I actually used quite a bit on that too, didn't I? There we go. That's some of our, again, that's the fluorescent orange light. Again, we'll try and sharpen up the edge of our mace there. And fortunately, these have a little bit of opacity to them, unlike the Marion Street versions. All right, now this definitely didn't go quite the way we wanted it to. We're going to change this thing around here. I think those got a little bit on the larger size. Yeah, that's I think that's a little more like it. Here, let's go back to some of our red. And then some of this stuff, I just got to leave it sit there and then come back and soften that up later on. Can't do that just yet. Gotta be patient here. Oh, what the heck, I might let a little bit of my lighter core get on the back of the armor there, and I think we're gonna lighten this up too, just a smidge here.
Who enters my domain?
Oh, looky here, we got Steep T. Steep, how the heck are you doing? Thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate that, and if everybody could please give Steep T a follow, that would be fantastic. So Steep T, I hope that you're doing well, and hope that your stream went really good too. So you'll have to let us know. Now, were you finished with that, the one that has all the object source lighting on, or were you still working on that one? Or is he done? Because I don't think I've seen, in the last day or two, I don't remember seeing any images of him on Instagram. And of course, the usual, right? Once you got your images done. Let's see. So thank you very much, Steep. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're just painting up some Sauron here. What was here last week? So this was last week's. The week before was a bit of Minas Morgul here. So we've been focusing more on the creepier things for Halloween, of course. So there's some ring rates right there. Now, of course, actually, this was very fun. Here, let me see if I can grab this here. So this is a 3D printed bust. This is from Archvillain. This is their Lilith, part of their basically vampire counts. I mean, here's some of the miniatures that go along with it. Lots of really interesting miniatures, but yeah, this was really fun to be able to paint this, and we sort of painted it along the same lines as that the Lilith bust from, oh gosh, what the heck are they called? From Printomancer. Okay. All right, so Steep, sorry to hear about that. Though that is never an easy thing. Dealing with that kind of stuff. So sorry that you had to deal with that. That's never fun. But I'm glad that it sounds like it in the end. It ended up working out okay. Yeah, it's been a crazy week here, that's for sure. And I have a feeling that next week is going to be very much the same, probably most of November, actually. So, yeah, because I think you saw, yeah, I'm pretty sure you saw this. Those these are some of the Printomancer ones. It's a little too, yeah, I got too much paint on my hands to try and grab the Lilith bust. They don't really have gigantic plinths for bases, so you know what I'm missing down here? Some of my orange. Got a little bit of our floral red down here too. I'll let that mix together here. Like so, and then we'll grab some of our larger brushes, maybe to do some blending here and there, of course. I'm glad that she's doing okay there. And let's get a little bit of our darker orange in here too. Maybe even on some parts of the mace. Because, yeah, let's get some on the mace here. And where's one of my larger brushes we can use here to do some tap, 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 and just fade some of these edges here. So again, we're just There's no paint on that brush. All we're going to do here is literally just try and do a little bit of fading here of some of these edges. There. Now, we couldn't do this right away. All we would have done, just like with a miniature, we would have just removed the paint. We would have just taken the paint right off of it here instead. And again, we're not doing this. We're doing this. We're just really poking this thing. I don't know, you might even be able to hear that. The brush actually just being making some contact there with the surface. So Steve, I'm glad that at least you're able to get your usual stream in there. All right, back to some of this red here. Oh boy, Steep Tea, I wish I forgot once again to bring up the that Dwarven Forge. Speaking of all the object source lighting and everything, boy, I wish I had remembered to bring that or get that back up here so that people could see that. It's on my Instagram, so yeah, you can go just James Wappel on Instagram, or no, sorry, Wappelius on Instagram, James Wappel on YouTube. But actually, the Dwarven Forge, speaking of YouTube, that is on the YouTube channel. I basically shortened it up a little bit, probably about a half an hour or so, and put the Dwarven Forge up on YouTube channel, and that's got lots and lots of object source lighting. So kind of like what we're doing here. So it's got a little bit of the, actually it's not working out too badly there. That's the cadmium yellow and, well, some of the, yeah, it's working out okay. I think we're on to something there then. That's good. Perhaps a little more orange down here. I think we've got an awful lot of like reddish gray here. I think we need some more orange here. Here with the, where that meets the armor. Okay, not quite sure what is happening with this. I might just tone that down a little bit. Right there. Let me see. Let me just do that. And where's my, here it is. Again, a little bit of blending brush here. So see here that I had to let that paint sit there for a second so that we could come back and tone that down, at least the edge of it anyways. Again, throw a little bit more of my, yeah, let's get a little red over here too, even on the knuckles of his hand there. I'm going to get maybe a little smidge more of the red and orange onto this part of his armor right over here. Yeah. And now that I've got some of that little scroll work, whatever it is, see, I think what we can also do is try and do a little bit of that over here. We also need, let's do the edge of his armor there. So just trying to get some more reflectivity here. Can't hurt. I think, yeah, we'll probably come back in here, I think, with, I'm going to have some fun here with, I think, some of the light fluorescent orange and then just some of our cadmium yellow. Especially here. That gives it a little extra opacity. I mean, as opaque as these fluorescents are compared to, well, every other fluorescent that's out there, I felt like it could use a little boost in its opacity. And remember, this is actually a whole nother part of the mace right here. There's a second, there's one blade here. This is a whole nother blade section over here that we're trying to put in. So I'm basically just kind of changing the color here. I'm pretty much getting the color out of the way so that I can put this new stuff in. There, some of our cadmium orange. Okay, now we've kind of made that transition there. All right, that's a little better. Back to some of that cadmium yellow again for just a touch of opacity. So some thinner on it too, just to make sure that it can flow easily enough. And I'm still trying to figure out exactly what we want to do right here for that. I think we're starting to get there with what we want to do for the helmet here. And especially around his eyes. And now maybe I can start to think about something that looks a little bit more like, well, wispy flames coming out of the eye area there. Get a little of our cadmium yellow, because that's all supposed to be flamey right there. Some of the flame coming. There we go. I think now we're starting to get some of the flame coming out of the eyes there. Wasn't really looking like that before. That's okay. Now I see how they've got the mace here. I don't know. I either have to go darker behind that mace or lighter. We gotta do one or the other. We kind of have neither right now, so I'm gonna see what happens if I do something like this. Because I think that is what's missing. Yeah, we need to just go a little darker here. Sometimes, like we say, if you don't have any dark, you don't have any light either. So we are just gonna make some of this a little darker. I think we've got plenty of range here to be able to do that. And yeah, that's kind of what I was missing right there. So now I'll throw a little bit of our cadmium yellow together with that. That's what was missing right here. And now that part of the mace, we can maybe get some more of our light on that too. I'm going to throw a little bit of my darker fluorescent red in here. Like this. And then we'll come back and I think we'll just hit that with, again, something that is lighter here. Let's get the edge of it. So now I think the mace is starting to look a little bit more like a mace. Wasn't quite sure what the heck they were trying to do visually there for a second. Now I think we got that figured out. Oh, thanks, Razamade, and thank you very much. Yeah, we like doing our shiny stuff here, whether it's on miniatures or whether it's on, well, 2D art. We got to get some of that scroll stuff here also. And like we're talking about, it does give me a chance to highlight a few of these scroll work edges. We haven't even hit these with our lightest lights yet either. That really starts to make those guys jump. Let's get this edge too. Because even though this wasn't necessarily metal and such, we had the same sort of kind of curvy shapes and everything that we needed to get plenty of variety on color-wise. Yeah, it's always interesting, right, Bithron, when we've got the fluorescent paint. Boy, I really wish I had the Dwarven Forge pictures again. If you want to see the Dwarven Forge, just go to Wappelius on Instagram. And if you want to see the process of that being painted, you can always check it out on the YouTube channel. That was a really fun piece, wasn't it, Bithron? I had a blast doing that. All right, this whole armor set over here also needs to be more defined, which we can sort of do now. We've got some of our other stuff in place. It's got a little bit of our grayish blue here. And then we'll take our blending brush, get to that, but for right now, that also needs to be not just darkened down, but maybe taken off of the yellow just a tiny bit. Same here, because that wouldn't be, it's not going to catch so much of the fiery light, being essentially blocked by the armor, of all things. And let's do our reinforce that line. This one too. What's happening up here? I gotta. Nope. I almost didn't come back here and grab some of my Fanchon red. But I think it's a case here. Well, I want to try and sharpen up some of the edges of the mace. Again, that's just some of our Fanchon red, some of this dark color together. So one of the things we've been doing here is just speculating on when they might finally do a plastic Sauron figure. Anything besides just the old metal one. Because the old metal one is showing its age, to say the least. It was showing its age when they first made it. And it's certainly showing its age now. That it's been, oh gosh, it's probably an 18-year-old miniature, maybe 19 years old at this point. Once again, go and darken some of this stuff around it so that that actually shows up a little bit more. Oh, thanks, Dano. I appreciate that. So yeah, that is the Dwarven Forge we're talking about. And we made plenty of use of our fluorescent paints. And again, those are homemade fluorescent paints. Took the Green Stuff World, again, the powdered pigments. Mixed that with the linseed oil, and bam. We had ourselves some fluorescent oils to work with. And I mean, painting terrain with oils is so much easier, especially when you're doing the, oh yeah, and Bithron, that FDM terrain is so easy to paint with the oils. It just sinks right into it, and actually makes it really easy to cover the striation lines too. You know, the usual stuff that you would get out of an FDM printer, yeah, you can actually kind of hide those a little bit, which is extra cool. All right, now this, we gotta make some of the sections here. Kind of redo this a little bit. So Dan, thank you very much for posting the link to the Instas there. Appreciate that. So this is a little bit of Van Dyke Brown, a little bit of indigo. You know, I think we could probably, yeah, let's do this where it's not all just the heavier line. We need to do the same over here. We need to have a secondary line here that's a little bit thinner than the first one, kind of like what we've got going on there. Something like that, maybe. Oh, thanks again, Dano. Yeah, Bithron, obviously we painted a couple of the Rohan buildings with the oils, and that was fantastic. But that was the first FDM stuff, and I've tried to paint some of the FDM things, even on videos and such, with just the regular acrylics, and that was a miserable experience. And boy, did the oils really love it. They did a fantastic job. Because, well, the FDM stuff is going to soak in the paint for one thing, and of course the oils, they make it really easy to get dark colors. And usually when you're doing terrain, that's something you need, is a hefty amount of dark colors anyway. That's what we need to do here, is set the edges of the armor here. I knew there was something missing. And I'm going to try and get some of that scroll work, I think, on these pieces of his armor as well. Let's get rid of some of that. Not any kind of specific patterns or whatever, just kind of whatever. And I might even still go back in there with my blending brush, like we do a lot of times with our freehand with the oils. Now this didn't really have the scroll work there so much on the shoulder. Not really surprised. What is happening over here? That's gotta, I think, have that same sort of grayish color on it, maybe. At least on that piece of his armor there. Oh, gee whiz. Almost forgot to snap a little progress picture on this guy here. Bam, there we go. Let's see if I can get some, it's like the same lighter yellows there. Let's throw some of that to his arm over here. Here, let's get a little bit more of the brilliant yellow pale. And again, just try and find a couple of those edges. Maybe we'll enhance the light on this. I don't know. Do we need to make that any lighter? Let's see what happens if I just do a smidge of light there. I think that's what it needed. And this probably needs to be lighter out here because the arm is further away from his body, so most likely going to catch more of the light. Yeah, that seems to work. Now we got to do that over here, but that is going to, I think, be with the blue/violet. So this is the radiant. Though, you know what we haven't used yet at all? We have not used any white on this. Yeah, all of this has been done, all the lights and everything. I haven't even touched the white yet. So you don't necessarily have to be using white for your highlights. I mean, we can go all this time. We've been painting for 2 hours now. We have yet to touch a single bit of white this entire time. Which means when we go to use it for any of these things, we're going to notice it big time. It will be quite clearly visible. In fact, what I might just do is now grab a little bit of that and some Indian yellow perhaps. Something like this. And I think it's going to have to almost be on the thicker side as well. Maybe not quite that thick. But, well, thin does stick to thick and vice versa. Now that's more important on a miniature, which is going to be less absorbent than this surface is. This is somewhat of an absorbent surface, I gotta say. So see, that's much lighter right there. Now, thanks Rise of Mages for giving Dano a hand there with the photos. Yeah, we've got, gosh, what was it called? I think it was called Foldio. Yeah, I remember, so Rise of Mages, do you remember when those first were like a Kickstarter thing? Oh gosh, probably back around 2014 you started to see those as a Kickstarter. And I think I got one of those way, way, way back in the day. Actually, I have been experimenting with the Black 3.0, also as a possible photo backdrop. It doesn't quite do. Now, of course, maybe we just need to paint more layers of it to make it truly light absorbing. It is not as light absorbing as what they claim it, at least right now. So now when I paint it on the bottoms of bases and stuff, it really is effective there, more so than say just regular black paint or primer or whatever. Ah, yeah. Some lights reflecting there. Let's get the other part of his mace here. Because, yeah, I was wondering if that's been that long ago when all of those things were, remember those were kind of all the rage, weren't they, when those things came out? I mean, they're great. It's just funny now that you just see them all over the place. And that was kind of a specialty thing when they first came out. So yeah, again, Rise of Mages, thank you so much for the info. Yeah, I'm gonna be asking you all kinds of questions about that phone camera. And I have that thing for sure. So don't be surprised if there's a whole bunch of questions coming your way. And now I'm going to do the same here. But it's, again, it's even this is still not a straight up white. It's the white mixed with our Indian yellow to just give it a little something extra here. Yeah, I guess so. Rise of Mages, wouldn't you say it's a bit like 3D printing, where you just gotta get to, like you were saying, you gotta get to that setting point. Once you have that, you kind of have it. I'm going to see if I can't use, again, a bit of our floral orange, some of that cadmium yellow. Spread that love around a little bit. Perhaps the same over here. At this point, looking to also soften some of this. This is way softer than this was not too long ago. So yeah, actually, now the one thing I do use the phone, I mean, when it comes to taking pictures of stuff, is terrain pieces, right? Big stuff. Big stuff, the phone, or multiple miniatures, right, on a terrain board. That is definitely going to be a great spot to be using the phone camera. For sure, looking forward to that. So again, going to just let some of the, you know what, I think the orange should be in there. Yeah. I think going with more orange so the more of the yellow is up there. Again, doing some blending here. Softening up some of these edges here. Yeah, Rise of Mages. Now, of course, too, what's one of the things we've been talking about a lot is the different types of resins and then also the different climates, right? And the effect that that can have on the very same resin, which somewhere else might print really well every single time, and somewhere another location, same resin, same printer, same file, might not print very well at all. But I mean, it's not necessarily a huge surprise. All right, we got some Van Dyke Brown. Let's get a little bit of the black spinel too. To throw in a couple of more really rich darks in a few areas here. Something like that. Ah, see that strengthens the shadow there on that blade. So yeah, oh, definitely. Now, I'm guessing at this point, mid-November is the most likely time for that. I don't really want to wait till December. And of course, too, now who knows? Hopefully, there's no supply chain issues on phones. I know there's supply chain issues on everything. And once again, we are going to use this brush to try and make some sharper edges on this stuff. There we go. Sharpening the edges on that. Where's my darker red? Let's get some of this darker red here. I want to outline this. All I want to do is just that edge right there so that, because it's not just a piece of paper. I mean, it is a blade. There should be an edge on that. And I'm going to go back in with some of my orange here. And maybe start to tone this down just a little bit. Yeah, something like that. Some of this darker fluorescent red too. Right there along the edge. There we go. Now I'm finally starting to see the edge of that mace. It took a little time to figure out just what the heck was supposed to be going on over there. And I think I might just take a quick little picture of this as well, again, so people can see the various stages of this. All right, here we'll just again snap a quick little picture with this here, and poof, there it is. Let's see. Weather seems to affect it so much for us here in Australia. Yeah, I know well, here, it's kind of, now we've got it where it's sort of in the 50s and it's in the 40s. I think the other day it was 37 degrees or something like that, and that ain't Celsius, that's Fahrenheit. And then you've got moisture, then no moisture. You got the furnace going on, so you have moist air that now becomes less moist, and it just really painful. So you're going to take the plunge and have a go. Oh, some object source sitting on the gobos. Oh, yeah, so so some of the Moria goblins. Boy, that was really fun, wasn't it? Yeah. I still got to finish off the rest of the Moria Fellowship, too. I think we only got basically Gandalf and Boromir, and that's it. So, yeah, I'll have to try and do some of the other Moria-based Fellowship. Steep Tea has returned. So Steep, yeah, I was really looking forward to getting some of the scroll work on the armor here. I'm hoping that at some point they redo the Sauron figure, because the ancient metal one, I mean, it didn't have a ton of details on it when it was new, and now that it's got to be at least, what would you say, Dan, 18 years old? It's that detail is, whatever there was there is gone, to say the least. Here we've kind of forgot some of our scrolly stuff on this bit of armor here. And let's continue the rest of it again. There's like a secondary line on the armor right here, and that, we almost went in the wrong direction with that. Okay, let's bring that back this way here. Now, what's interesting, Rise of Mages is the only store that I ever actually physically go to is our tiny little grocery store that's what, a block and a half away that I just walked to. I couldn't tell you the last time I was in any kind of a big box store has to have been at least 2 years ago. So, it's weird. I'm not quite sure if our tiny little store has less likelihood of running into, well, empty shelf issues than, say, a big box store where you need to have thousands of one thing, whereas my store can get away with probably a few dozen of one thing. It's almost like Mayberry. I mean, it's in Chicago, it's in the city. It is not out in the suburbs, it's not in a rural area or anything like that. It's in the city. But I mean, I go into the drugstore, and that's where I deliver packages to, is the drugstore, which is right next to Mix's Liquors, which is right next to the grocery store, and all that has been there since I was 5 years old, 4 years old. It's been there forever. Um, yeah, steep tea. Well, they did do a nice plastics. Whatchamacallit, Gandalf. There's also Gandalf on foot, and actually one of the little hobbits goes on here too. So yeah, Pippin goes on there. Well, and of course, they've been doing all the characters. So Saruman, the Theoden, Eomer, Eowyn. Well, at least on horseback. And I think that's pretty much what they're going to be doing is just the characters. I don't think they're going to be doing any new units. So yeah, Rise of Mages, again, it could be, when you go to the big box stores, it's a very different situation as far as what you can find and what you can't find. But something just tells me that our little tiny grocery store, again, not going to be immune to it, but I think it's just less likely. Well, here, let's put it this way. If you were to take the entire parking lot, the store, the drugstore, Miska's Liquors, and the complex next to it, which has a couple of fast food places, the Laundry Mart, and the Salvation Army, that wouldn't equal the size of an average Target, I'm sure. That's how small it is. Hey, Ibranizen, how you doing? Nice to see you. Yep, so Steep Tea, these are all the GW figs. So this is the new Saruman. I know I've got the foot version of him around here somewhere. Where the heck is that? Somewhere around here, I don't know. But yeah, there's the new Theoden. They have the Eomer. They have the, like I said, Aon. Oh, and they're doing the Witch King now. So this is from, well, I'm still going to be printing out most of them. So this is the Witch King from Diwali right here. But there's a plastic Witch King on foot and mounted that's coming out. Well, that is out now with the new supplement. As well as the, well, I guess it's plastic, but they really fooled me on the Dol Guldur terrain set. I thought that was going to be a Forge World thing. I did not think that was going to be like the Rohan house kit. So yeah, that was they did a little bit of a foolie on me there. All right, so we will check out Wappelville in just a second. Boy, that is really something that I would have loved to have the oils for. And we were talking about the terrain piece, right? That Dwarven Forge and everything else. And that was done on an FDM printer. Yeah, wait till you see the Wappelville stuff. That was done, or no, FDM, sorry. Yeah, this was done all, your wood. So the FDM, or the MDF style printing, oh my gosh. I really wish I had the oils for that. See, I don't really like that here. I'm going to go back to the red again. Yeah, so I'm sure they might even do a plastic Radagast. Who knows? Maybe for War in the North. I don't know. All right, here. Let's head on over to Wappelville right here. Let's look at this here. Where's our Wappelville stuff? Ah, there we go. There we go. So this is about 2012, I want to say. 2012, 2013, Wild West Exodus. Boy, that was a game we really loved. We really loved that game. But we had, I think it was about we could fill up an 8x8 table with just our terrain for it. I had a siege train that was 4 feet long. And that was all the MDF wood stuff. There's a ton of articles on the blog, the jail, all these buildings that you're seeing here. There's blog posts with step-by-step tutorials on how all that stuff was done as far as the texturizing of it and the painting of it. I took the printable, like a paper you could throw in your regular printer, and it was it's like a sticker, basically. It's like it was a giant sticker, and I would use that for wallpaper and carpeting and the signs on the walls and such. And here's some of the miniatures that, again, I would have loved to have had the oils for doing these, like I'm doing right now. That was also the first set of figures where I was learning how to do the bark and branch method of basing. And these guys, painting them in oils would have been a dream. It would have taken a third of the time. Seriously, I'm not kidding. It's that much of a difference because I just had to use acrylics not too long ago, and it really slowed the whole process down. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking for sure. Rise of Mages. Now, of course, not exactly, maybe the prices might be a little bit more, that you don't get quite the deals or whatever, but some advantages. So that the pink building there, that was La Flamma Rose. That was the House of Horizontal Refreshment. Yeah, that building was fought over many times. Yes, the lawmen of Wappelville. And the train station, I mean, I had a sign that said, "Welcome to Wappelville." Now, the whole story behind that goes back to, well, the 1950s, when my dad constructed a train station for the train set, and he basically painted the name Wappelville on the roof and called it Wappelville Station. And all this time, ever since, well, it was 60 some odd years later, well, actually, that train set still exists, and there is a Wappelville Station. But then when we started doing the Wild West Exodus stuff, it just seemed very appropriate to have the town of Wappelville. And ever since, yes, we had a whole story about statehood and everything. That was very hilarious. And actually, there's a bunch of battle reports on the blog, too, now that I think about it. They're just in pictures. There's not videos or whatever. But yeah, there are battle reports on the blog. Okay, this is the cadmium yellow right here. We want to get some of the same scrolly stuff we got over here. That's actually also in the armor on his face. Maybe a little bit less of that. But you can see how that covers. That's because it's got the opacity. That's very important. It's also because that is a bit thinner. The paint underneath there is thicker. So again, thin will stick over thick and vice versa. So let's see, we had the lawmen, we had the outlaws. Yeah, the outlaws were notorious interior decorators. They were constantly trying to infiltrate or smuggle fine linens and other sort of basically violating customs. So yeah, lots of contraband stuff like that. I think one was called the Great Drapery Heist or something like that. These were fabrics that came all the way from France. They were very valuable. All right, well, Dano, you could hopefully you have a good game night there. And like I said, if I'm able to stream later tonight, I will try to. So there, I needed to make that a bit more of a yellowish one. That was a bit too much of the brightest light. We want that to be here where his eyes are. We still haven't done the lightest light yet. Now maybe we can get to that. I was also waiting for the paint that we put on the eyes there to also set just a smidge. Oh, and by the way, this is what, 2 hours, 29 minutes? Yeah, that's it. Just 2 hours, 29 minutes. So for sure, the one thing I can say, no, I won't be streaming Saturday. It's possible that we will stream tomorrow, and I guess I'm going to try and do a Halloween stream. That could be complicated by, who knows, people ringing doorbells, so we may have to turn the doorbell off. So that's not going into the night there. I'm going to go back down here. Oops. Well, I didn't need any of that gray in there, but it worked its way in there, unfortunately. Here, let's... Yeah, I need to change... That was all like one solid line there. That's not what I wanted to see. I'm going to try and sharpen up that edge a little bit too. So yeah, with the mace here, so many different points and everything, just kind of like going in every which direction. So here, okay, I'm going to lighten this up a little bit. I'm going to get me some more of my cadmium yellow deep. Now, of course, this is the diet cadmium, as we've referred to it here, because there's no actual cadmiums in there. It's going to be the same price as regular cadmium yellow, unfortunately, but the nice thing about not having the cadmiums in there is that it's going to dry at the same rate as all your other paint. Otherwise, it's going to dry slower. I don't care about it drying fast. It's nice that it dries at the same rate. You'd be surprised at how handy that can be. Just knowing that, okay, this one area, if I touch this area 2 days later, it will be just as dry as everything else. And on an absorbent surface like this, the paint's going to dry pretty darn quickly. By tomorrow, this whole thing should be essentially dry. Even with some of the cadmiums on there too, I think. Speaking of that, I'm going to try and get some of the more orangey yellows too. Not just that brighter yellows, but something that's a bit more orangey. And then we still haven't come into this area with our brightest lights yet. We still have a little further that we can go with some of our lights on this. That is why we just we keep this white in our back pocket until we really need it. For sure, all along this area, we're going to want to use this, utilize it here for... So it makes that edge come forward. These edges start to recede. It gives it some turn. Again, popping in some more lights here. Also, you can see there's a little bit of a break to that line. It's kind of important. It makes it look more, I don't know, not necessarily a battle damage look, not necessarily what we're going for there, but it makes it look a little bit more ancient. Because I would believe that this armor is quite ancient. And you can see here what looked like it was almost white. Well, you can see that's not quite white, is it? Because now that white's there, we still see a difference in the values. I might throw a little bit of that out here on his hand, especially since the hand is coming towards us. So probably should get some of these lighter lights as well. Here along the edge of each of the digits there. Then these also will. These first two, I think, catch some of the light. And we need some along here too. Oh yeah, and this part of his thumb. Oh yeah, we really need to lighten this up. Like so. Alright, well, Steep T, you have a good one. Thank you so much for the raid, as always. And if people could please give Steep T a follow, that would be fantastic, of course. Yeah, I'm going to take some of this yellow there still. So, Steep T, you have a good one. And hopefully you have a good Halloween. I mean, a lot of the usual stuff that obviously would be happening is probably still not happening. Because I know that's the case here. So I would imagine that's probably the same in many other areas. Boy, that was really, we were able to get a nice solid edge on that, weren't we? Now we've been messing with the light. How's about some coming back to some darks here again? Once again, to solidify some edges here. And this still not quite exactly sure what shape that's supposed to be. Sometimes you just kind of go back and forth a little bit. So this is the Van Dyke brown, a little bit of the indigo in there too. Where's my blending brush? Just use this here. Bam, there we go. So that stands out a little bit more. Also going to put a little bit of this scroll work in there, break that up a bit. I don't think we ever really did get our darkest dark here. This side of his arm, we did it on the top, not the bottom. There we go. I think that's starting to help. And you can see the reflection of the fire and such happening here too. This needs a little more separation here. I don't know if that's going to be... here, maybe I'll just use it with the Fanchon red. Yeah, I think you could... It's there, you can see it now. Yeah, some reflected light there. That needs to also come further up this way. I might try and darken that a little bit too. Maybe something that has almost no red in it whatsoever. And you can see we're doing this swirling motion right here. It's very much a dry brush. Because we never really did get our darkest darks out here along the edges, did we? Maybe just going to have a little bit of the brown matter and have that maybe give it a little bit of a reddish hint. But look at this circular brushstroke that we're using here. There's not a lot of paint on that brush. We're just kind of forcing it onto our, again, that's just a hot press illustration board from Crescent, if you're wondering what that is that we're using. That does have a little bit of the darker red in it. I think some of our, there's all too much yellow out this way. So I'll make that more of an orangey red instead. How's about a little bit over here? Soften up that edge. What about this? I don't know. I might, again, just a little bit of dry brush. That's all the paint that's on that brush. It looks like we were applying all kinds of paint. We weren't. Very little actual paint on that brush. And we're also going to tone that down too. These got way too light. I'm going to tone those down as well. All right, well, Aussie, again, thank you so much for hanging out. And yeah, like Armor Wolf said, hopefully the game is really fun. Got to kill those players. Ain't going to kill themselves. Well, I think then we joked that they will try to kill themselves usually by doing things they probably shouldn't. So who knows? Maybe those players will kill themselves. I'm just looking at the way this is done here. I'm going to take some of the fluorescent red and change the angle on that. I think that makes it look a little bit more like what we have here. Might let a little bit of the red start to creep onto that side of the armor. Maybe just a smidge, I don't know. And some of these edges here, I don't know, I'm gonna take the edge off, so to speak. Now here, let's, oh, I don't know if we ever did do that film noir, but let's do one here. So yeah, you can see the importance that the edges take. When you don't have, there is no warm, there's no cool, there's no intense color, not intense color. All there is your light and shadow, and then you also have the edges and lots of sharp edges. So these edges get softer, and these start to get more and more pronounced, of course. So here we'll bring back our colors. So sorry if I forgot to do that earlier. There we go. We have ordered our TPK, and Aussie assures us that there's a TPA on the or TPK on the way. I'm also going to change the shape of that a little bit, and then not sure what we want to have happen in here with this hand. Yeah, I think with the back of the hand, that was sticking up a little bit too much, and I think making that little change was a good idea.